The story begins on a rainy day in Seoul. We see many cars carrying the president of South Korea. He arrives at a mansion and a man comes out of the mansion and welcomes him. He asks him to come alone from that point forward. The bodyguards of the Blue House were objecting this request, but the president tasks them to calm down and he agrees to go along with him, alone. Inside the mansion, the president meets the chairman of the Crimson Moon gang, Yoon Yushin. The president bows before him and told him that now they acknowledge the Crimson Moon as an inviolable organization and would officially cease any further intervention. And he requests that he call off all his men and end his attempts to assassinate him. Chairman Shin laughs at him, and from that point forward, Crimson Moon became the biggest gang in Korea, whom even the government fears. At another place, a man comes running to the police station and told the cops there that some gangsters were after him. The protagonist of the story comes to his help, and as he was trying to help him, a man slams that guy's face on the table. These goons were from the Crimson Moon, and they were after him because he wasn't paying them the loan that he took from them. They start beating him in front of the cops, and all they could do was to just watch. They laugh at that guy for trying to ask the cops for help. Instead of helping the guy, the cops apologized to them for any inconvenience, as they were taking that guy to sell his organs in the market to pay his debts to them. Our protagonist, Ryu, stops him and arrests him for assault and intimidation. The others cops were terrified and shocked by his action. That man, Tae Kyung-go, was also surprised and mocks him for his bravado. Chief Min apologizes to Young on his behalf and orders Ryu to take the handcuffs off of him. But instead of taking them off, he asks him to give his another hand so that he could arrest him. Young punches him, making him fall to the floor. Chief Min requests him to let him go this time, but he insults him. He told Ryu to not embarrass himself and take off the handcuffs, but instead, he gets back up and warns them if they don't cooperate, he would have to use force. Young gets angry and starts beating him. Young was strong and was dominating Ryu in the fight. He was brutally beating him, leaving only enough life in him so that he doesn't die. He orders the other cops to take off the handcuffs and told them that he would need at least 6 months of intensive care. As they were leaving, his minions noticed something and told Young to look behind. When he turns around, he sees Ryu standing in front of them. He was now like a totally different person, and he even was a lot bigger than before. A few months earlier, at a secret lab, Ryu was in critical condition. He had 38 injuries, and 9 of them were fatal. Due to excessive blood loss, his body was going into cardiac arrest. Doctors were trying their best to save him, but in the end, they failed and declared him deceased. While all the doctors were in shock, a doctor starts laughing as he just discovered something amazing. He says that he had gotten someone who has the potential to even surpass the Crimson Moon chairman. He curses the Crimson Moon for burying his wife and daughter alive, and was now planning on taking his revenge on him. The other doctors call him out on laughing at a situation like this and accuse him of the patient's death, because if he had acted sooner, the patient could have survived. The doctor calls them morons and told them that he was not dead yet. They see that the dead body had came to life. The doctor orders them to take as much blood from him as possible. He was going to make an age-reversing drug with the healing effect of his blood. Back to the present time, Ryu throws the thugs out of the police station. He had beaten all of them up. A man also comes there and notices that Ryu gets stronger and stronger as he gets beaten up. The man calls him by his full name, Saiwon Ryu, indicating he already knew about him. The next day, seeing Ryu all healed up just overnight, the other cops were a little creeped out about that, and they say it was not the first time that had happened. Chief Min apologizes to him for not helping him when he was fighting the Crimson Moon. Ryu understands that they had families, and that's why they were afraid to go against them. On the same evening, it was raining and they were about to head home, when they see Tae-kyung outside with more men, and this time they were also armed. He orders all his men to kill everyone in the police station. They start killing any cop they could get their hands on. When one of them was about to kill Chief, Ryu pinches the guy, saving his life in time. Young threatens him that he was going to kill him this time, and he couldn't defeat all of them. Ryu jumps straight for Young. They were trying to hold him, but they weren't able to do so, because he was just too strong for them. Because he had recently bulked up, his body was not able to transform again, and he was worried that he was gonna let everyone get killed. He was thinking all this when one of them stabs him with a knife. But seeing Ryu standing even after that, he was terrified. The man from earlier was there this time also. He had orders from the doctor to not intervene too hastily. He needed to be pushed over the edge for him to hold a grudge against the Crimson Moon, so he decides to watch for the time being. Ryu had defeated many of them already, but eventually, He was caught by them because his body was not transforming as it did earlier. They were baffled by his strength and wondered how could he be so strong. Young had his knife on Chief Min and was going to kill him to set an example for him to not mess with the Crimson Moon. Ryu begs him not to kill him because his daughter only has him after his wife died and asks him to kill him instead. Young says that he would kill him too, but from the start, he had planned on killing everyone. He killed the chief in front of him and now he was going to kill Ryu. Ryu threatens to kill each one of them. As Young was going to kill him, he sees one of his men slammed against the wall and was beaten up by someone. When he sees behind him, all his men had been taken care of by one man. It was that guy from earlier. He attacks them and starts beating each one of them. And in just a few minutes, he took care of everyone except Young. Young was wondering where all these freaks are coming from. He attacks him with his knife, but he catches the knife and shatters it into pieces. He attacks Young, making him fall to the ground unconscious. He goes to Ryu and says that he had heard he gets stronger every time he gets beaten. He said he was disappointed and calls him pathetic. The guy takes him to the nearest hospital. He was wondering if this guy could really take down Crimson Moon when he couldn't even deal with their weakest members. A few days earlier, in a prison, a man named Dokkel, a notorious murderer who killed 18 people 10 years ago, was being executed today. All those men he killed were from Crimson Moon. That same doctor was also there, and he gives him a pill to swallow. Dokkel takes the pill thinking it was a poisonous pill. As soon as he takes the pill, he starts screaming in pain and his body starts to transform. He turns into his younger self. He was the same guy who had helped Ryu. The doctor had warned him not to go after the leader of the Crimson Moon alone. He was not the same man he used to be 10 years ago. If he goes alone, he wouldn't be able to land a finger on that monster. But Dokkel ignores his warning and decided to go after him anyway. Dokkel was one of the 4 sickos, and he was the one who drove Shin to the brink of death 10 years ago. Shin manages to get past his guards and security cameras, and now he was under his nose without him knowing. But Shin notices him. He releases his power, due to which Dokkel wasn't able to breathe and realizes he was not the same Shin he had fought 10 years ago. He had managed to surpass the ability to strengthen his body using his power, and now he could use that power externally. If Dokkel doesn't get out of there quickly, he was going to die. Shin stops releasing his power. His assistant asks him if he sensed anything. He told him that he thought he sensed Dokkel's aura for a moment. His assistant was surprised to hear that name and asked Shin if he was strong like him. Shin told him that the 4 sickos had almost killed him in the past once. If he hadn't turned them against each other, the Crimson Moon wouldn't have existed today. Dokkel manages to escape. His body started to turn back to old again. He curses the doctor for not telling him beforehand that he could turn old at any moment. At the secret lab of Dr. Young Min, the doctor was having a meal when Dokkel arrives there. He slams his face on the floor and accuses him of trying to turn him into a slave using those pills, to which the doctor replies that it doesn't come for free. It makes him even angrier, and as he was about to kill him, someone else enters the room. Dokkel calls him by the name Dongoli. He was one of the sickos as well, and he had just woken up from coma. The doctor had used the drug on him as well, making him young and powerful again. He attacks Dokkel out of the blue. Dokkel was confused about why he was attacking him. He punches him as well, but as his pills had worn off, he had no strength now. Donga slams him to the ground. The doctor asks about his meeting with Shin. He had told him not to go after Shin before awakening Ryu's potential. At the funeral of those officers who had died that day, Ryu was also there. Everyone was cursing him for being the only one who survived, even after being stabbed dozens of times. They were murmuring that even after all his colleagues were dead, he still wouldn't even shed a tear. Ryu was hearing all this. Dokkel was also there to keep an eye on Ryu. In the news, Taegyung had been freed from the murder charges as his alibi was confirmed, leading to his release. Ryu was furious at him. His whole body was trembling with anger. Someone throws a spoon at him. It was Chief Min's daughter Jin. She blames him for his dad's death and asks him to do something about it and catch the man who killed her father. He gets out of there, determined to kill Taegyung with his own 2 hands. His body starts transforming in anger when Dogkul comes there. He stops him from going out there to kill him in his situation. Ryu gets angry and wants him if he didn't take his hands off him. He was going to kill him, even though he had saved his life. Dokkel provokes him saying what he was going to do if he didn't let him go, and shows him his power. Ryu wasn't even able to see his attack. Dokkel challenged him that if he managed to hit him even once, he would not only let him go, but he would also help him kill Taegyung. Ryu gets annoyed and attacks him, which he easily avoids and punches Ryu. He was insulting him for being so weak. Ryu launches a surprise attack which he barely dodges. Dokal attacks him again, but this time he grabs his hand and manages to land a hit to his face. As he was going to attack him again, Dokal stops him and Ryu wins the bet. Ryu demands to let him go now as he managed to land a hit on him. Dokal accepts his loss, but he still didn't let him go, saying he would need more practice, and he gets in position to fight him again. On the other hand, Taegyong was celebrating his coming out of the prison with his goons. He says that nobody could lift a finger on him if the president himself licks their shoes. But he was wondering who was the guy who had attacked them that day. Taegyong had never felt a strong punch like that in his entire life. Then he realizes that he might be a Glee user, just like the chairman and the senior members of the Crimson Moon. As he was thinking all this, he hears a loud noise outside. It was Ryu, who had beaten all of his minions outside, and he threatens to kill Taegyong as well. Taegyong's whole body was trembling with fear, thinking about why a mere cop kept coming after him again and again. He orders all his men to kill him. All of them attack him at once, but this time, instead of getting hit by them first, he attacks them from the start. And in a few moments, he had taken care of everyone, and now it was Taegyong's turn. In anger, Taegyong attacks him and starts punching him continuously, not giving him any chance to fight back. Dokal calls him stupid for trying to kill him because Ryu could not be killed. Ryu grabs his hand and strikes a strong punch to his face, saying she wishes you the best. He was punched so hard that he got thrown out through the window and lands directly on the ground from 3 stories. Even after falling that up high, Taegyong was still alive. Some folks try to help him, but he gets up and just ran. Ryu was going after him when Dokal stops him and told him where he might have gone. He told him that he might have run to Inshu Park, the Crimson Moon's branch manager for District H and the vice captain of Red Moon Cash. Inshu Park was a top-class Glia user. Most of the Crimson Moon leaders, vice presidents, and app are Glia users. Inshu Park was a Glia user of the lowest level. Even so, Ryu wouldn't be able to defeat him with his current skills. At the Red Moon Cash, Branch H Inshu was scolding Taegyong for getting beaten up by a mere cop and coming to him for help. Young tries to explain to him what happened, but he doesn't believe him. Inshu was ordering his men to take care of Ryu when Young sees something on the surveillance camera and was terrified inside out. He shows Inshu what was going on. It was Ryu on the screen, and he was beating his men left and right. Ryu was overpowering them from the start, even without transforming. Dokal was also there, but he wasn't helping in the fight. He was just there to encourage him. He told him that he didn't have to get hit first to get stronger. He should strike first instead. And that's what he was doing this time. But there were too many of them, and eventually, they managed to grab him and start beating him brutally. Inshu insults Young, saying how could he lose to someone like that guy, who was put down so easily. Young says to him while trembling that the fight was not over just yet. He was just getting started, and the men in the lobby suddenly started to scream for help and ask for more backup. Young's whole body was trembling with fear when he saw that he had changed again. Ryu screams his lungs out and was calling Taegyong to come out. He was extremely furious. Inshu issues a red alert and orders all the employees to stop working and stop him. Ryu says that he didn't want to fight small fries and demands to bring Taegyong to him. He jumps to fight them head-on and the fight begins. This time he was more brutal and angry. Inshu was wondering if he was also a Glia user, but he hadn't heard anyone having Glia outside Crimson Moon. Now Inshu was interested as well. Ryu had beaten up everyone, but his powers were all drained and he got back to his original form. Dokal suggests he go back home for today, as he was in no position to fight Inshu, but he was determined to kill Taegyong today no matter what. He also threatens Dokal that if he gets in his way, he would kill him too. Dokal doesn't stop him and lets him do whatever he wants. When Ryu was going up, some goons were about to come down to the lobby to fight, but he takes care of them in the lift and reaches the top floor where Inshu was waiting for him. Ryu says to him that he just wanted Young and that he didn't have to fight him. If he gave Young to him, he would leave. Inshu gets angry and attacks him so fast that he didn't even see it coming. He was quick and strong for him to handle in his situation right now. He grabs him by the neck and slams him to the ground and starts beating him brutally. When he stopped, Ryu was on the ground, unable to move. Inshu was mocking him for his bravado when he sees someone else come out of the elevator. It was Dokal. Seeing him, Young starts sweating bucket. When Inshu asks who he was, Young warns him, saying he was even more dangerous than the guy before. Dokul didn't want to get involved in this mess, but he had clear orders from the doctor that if Ryu died, he wouldn't get any more of those pills. In-Sho asks him who was he, but he ignores him, and that makes him angry. He attacks Dokul, which he easily avoids, and now Dokul strikes back, breaking his bones. In-Sho screams at him, asking if he was a Glia user as well. Dokul attacks him again, which he tries to block with his punch, but all his fingers break instead. In-Sho screams in pain while wondering who this guy was, and with his next punch, Dokul manages to defeat In-Soo Park. All his men ran away, leaving Tae-kyung alone. Young begs Dokul to spare him, to which he replies, why would he be the one to kill him when he wasn't even the one who wanted revenge on him? Young was relieved after hearing this when he hears Ryu getting up. He was terrified from the inside out. Ryu gets up and threatens to kill him. In extreme fear, Young loses his mind and attacks Ryu before he could attack him. It was his desperate attempt to survive somehow and was wishing him to just die. But Ryu grabs Young, and Young desperately tries to get him off him. Ryu bites out his ear, making him scream in pain and anger, threatening to kill Ryu. While he was screaming at him, Ryu strikes again and lands a strong punch to his face. Young's body stops moving after just one punch. But Ryu was not done yet. He kept punching him again and again and again, taking out his anger and frustration on Young's dead body. Dokul stops him, telling him he was already dead and congratulates him on his first murder. Ryu drops to the floor from exhaustion. Dokul drags him to his place, saying that the Crimson Moon was now gonna come after them. The next morning, Hanjin Kim, Vice President of the Western District of the Crimson Moon, comes there with his men. He was furious to see what was in front of his eyes, and asks them who dared to go up against the Crimson Moon. And then he sees In-Soo Park and was shocked to see him in that situation as well. He asks him which organization did this, to which In-Soo replies that it wasn't an organization, it was just two men. Vice Prez was in disbelief after thinking how just two men could do this much damage. In told him that one of them was a user, and the other one was a police officer. The Vice Prez asked him where Tae-kyung was, and he sees that he was dead. Vice Prez orders his men to take all the bodies to the hospital and orders them to keep it a secret from the main branch. When he was about to leave, he hears something. When he looks back, he sees Tae-kyung standing on his feet, alive, and calls him a monster. The Vice Prez took Tae-kyung to their secret lab, where Dr. Dolpel treats him and tries to understand how he came back to life. The Vice Prez was sure that he died at that moment, so how could he be alive? Dr. Dolpel shows him the research on him. When Vice Prez saw that he was stunned, he had 10 billion glia, similar to Park In-Soo, an alpha ability user, and that might be the reason he came back. That's what his ability was. The Vice Prez didn't understand how a low-level alpha like him could have that kind of ability. But besides all that, the Vice Prez must catch the attackers alive and report to the General Assembly before anyone notices. That way, he could also avoid taking responsibility. He was going to wake up Tae-kyung by removing the oxygen. The doctor warns him not to do that, saying he might die. But the Vice Prez didn't listen to him and removed the oxygen and asked him about the attackers. Tae-kyung whispers the attacker's name, Ryu-Soo-won, but suddenly he started freaking out, yelling out he was going to kill Ryu-Soo-won. He wasn't in his senses and attacked the Vice Prez, which he barely avoided. They didn't understand how could a person who just come back from death have this much energy. Tae-kyung yells that he's going to kill Officer Ryu-Soo-won from D District. After getting this information, the Vice Prez punched him and knocked him back to sleep. Even the doctor was shocked by his talent. It's a rule to send someone to the General Assembly once they show signs of ability, and they would be then sent to a training center from which only a few people come back. The Vice Prez ordered to tie him up while he went to look for Ryu-Soo-won. On the other hand, Ryu was having a nightmare of the earlier fight and was sleep-talking. When he came jolted back to reality, he found Dogpal and another dude eating his food. Ryu asks him who he is, but Dogpal asked him to ignore him and asks for more kimchi. Ryu was annoyed and SAD aggressively with them, demanding food for himself. Dogpal informed him that the big guy ate all his food, which made him furious. But the big guy didn't like him talking informally to him. Ryu pointed out that they looked the same age. Ryu started questioning why they were hanging around him and always dragging him around. This started to annoy the big guy, and he warned him to stop talking. When Ryu kept asking him rudely about who they were, The big guy suddenly grabbed him by the throat and slammed him on the floor. He was pissed because he kept talking informally to him. Ryu wondered why the hell was he so strong. Dogpool told him that he was an ability user just like them, but his ability wasn't good enough to beat Park In-soo. Therefore, the big guy Guema and Dogpool will be his teachers and bring out his potential. But Ryu said that his only enemy was Taekyung. Now that he was dead, he had no reason to fight the Crimson Moon. Dogpool calls him a moron and told him that they would never stop coming after him after what he has done to their men. He'd only have two choices: either join the Crimson Moon as a member or wipe them out from the face of the earth. But Ryu didn't want anything to do with them and threatened to kill them if they didn't let him go. Dogpool warned him not to use force against Guema. It was futile, but he didn't listen to him and kept fighting, resulting in Guema smashing his head on the floor. With one punch, Ryu was out. As Guema was about to smash his head, Dogpool ordered him to stop, but Guema didn't like Dogpool giving him the order and threatened to kill him if he did that ever again. Dogpool pisses him off even more, saying if he could even kill him, and that he still hadn't paid his debt last time. They both were about to go all out against each other when they felt someone's present. They stopped their fight. They didn't expect the Crimson Moon to come this quickly after they killed Taekyung, but they didn't know Taekyung was still alive and gave them their location. The vice pres ordered his men to not kill the cop and bring him back without hurting him. On the way, the Crimson Moon gangsters meet Dogpool and Guema. They warned him to get out of the way if they didn't want to get hurt, but they insult them, saying how weak they looked. Guemo charged at them and started crushing them one by one. They were no match for his strength. Before he could do any more damage to them, the vice pres intervened and ordered him to get lost. He kicked him so hard that someone like Guema got pushed back by just one kick. The vice pres asked him if he was the one who attacked District H. Dogpool couldn't figure out what that was. Looking at him, he was around the beta tire. But would a beta tire be strong enough to push Guema away? That's what was going through Dogpool's mind right now. While the vice pres was monologuing how anyone who dared to challenge the Crimson Moon would be eliminated, Guema shut his mouth, attacking him. The vice pres was stunned to see how fast Guema was. He couldn't dodge his next attack and tried to block it, but got thrown away instead. He wondered how a monster like that existed outside the Crimson Moon. Dogpool mocked Guema for not killing him in a single punch. The vice pres screamed at them, saying strength wasn't everything, and started going toe to toe against him. Dogpool realized something was wrong. There's no way that guy could hold his ground against someone like Guema. They either strengthen their abilities, or just then, Dogpool realizes that the drug is starting to wear off even though it's only been 5 days. He yells at Guema, but he already knows what is up and says they were effed. Dogpool cursed the doctor and they made a run for it. The Crimson Moon members go after him. Guema asked him what they should do about Ryusa-won. Dogpool suggested they needed to save themselves first. They jump off a high ground, just hoping they'll survive somehow. Vice Pres was frustrated after losing him when he realized there was someone behind him. Just by one single look, he could tell he was the cop who attacked District H. Ryu told him to get out of his house and attack the vice pres. The vice pres was confused to see his weird physique and wondered what his abilities were. He finds him very interesting. Ryu was trying to hit him, but he wasn't able to land a single hit on him. The vice pres was done playing with him and kicked him in the face so hard that he got knocked out in a single hit. He then orders his men to look for the rest of the two. Ryu was having nightmares about the day when Taekyung killed the senior officer. When he returns to reality, he finds himself tied to chains in an unknown building. He shrunk during his sleep. Vice Pres asked him who he was and that he had never seen an ability like his before. But when Ryu didn't answer him, he started beating him. He had his own way of getting what he wanted. And sure enough, after getting beaten up by him, his body started to bulk up. After seeing his ability in action, the vice pres asked the doctor if he had the same ability as Taekyung. The doctor corrected him, saying his body heals quickly due to his Glire ability. His body bulks up and strengthens because of Glire in times of crisis. While in the case of Taekyung, he died and came back to life. Ryu was shocked to hear that and asked them if he was alive. He had made sure to kill him. Just then, he heard someone screaming his name. It was Taekyung, who was tied to his bed in the same room and was threatening to kill Ryu. Ryu couldn't believe he was still alive. He also couldn't control his anger and screamed at him that he was going to make sure that he ceased to breathe. The doctor and the vice pres find it entertaining saying those to scream at each other like that. They thought of making them fight to the death to see who was the bigger monster. At Dr. Min's secret lab, we see Guema taking down the guards. They were both out of shape and were having a hard time breathing. This was the side effect of the drug. They were not very happy with Dr. Min at the moment. Dr. Min was holding a gun to his head while talking to the picture of his wife and daughter, saying he was going to join them soon. We see a flashback of what happened to his family. We see Dr. Min on his knees, begging the Crimson Moon's leader Shin to let go of his family and kill him instead. He was going to bury them while they were still very much alive. The reason why he was doing it was because he lost billions of dollars because of his lawsuit. The doctor filed a lawsuit against a pharmaceutical company in which they had invested their money, but due to the lawsuit, they lost all of it. They had warned him to take back the lawsuit, but Dr. Min didn't listen to him. Leader Shin wanted him to feel the pain as well of losing everything. He gave him 3 seconds to choose one of them and he'd spare them. But the doctor was panicking and couldn't decide, resulting in both of them being buried. But in the present, before he could shoot himself, Dogpul and Guema come there and stop him from killing himself, because if he died, they wouldn't get their hands on the drug anymore. The doctor had warned them not to use too much energy or it would wear off quickly, but they didn't listen to him. Dr. Min asked them about Ryu and where he is. When they told him that he was taken by the Crimson Moon, he freaked out. He screamed at them to bring back Ryu no matter what. Without him, he won't be able to make more drugs. Guema had had enough of him and was about to smash his head when Dogpul stopped him, pointing at the guy and how he wanted someone to kill him. Dogpul asked him to hand them over the remaining drug because they were going to bring Ryu back no matter what. On the other hand, Ryu and Taekyung were fighting each other in a death match, but this time, Taekyung was overpowering Ryu. Ryu fought back and landed a punch on him, but it had no effect on him. And when Taekyung struck back, Ryu received way more damage. The vice pres of District H points out how one-sided the fight was, but the doctor reminded him that he still hadn't lost yet. Taekyung could see Ryu's every movement. It was like all his cells were brought back to life. With this sensation, not only Ryusa won, he was confident he could take out anyone. Ryu was surprised to see him be this strong all of a sudden, but even though he was stronger now, there was no way he was going to be taken down by this. He remembered what Dogpul had told him about him not being all that strong, and that Crimson Moon would trample all over him if he kept failing to pull out his Glire potential. After getting beaten up continuously, Ryu was finally down. Oh, Taekyung won, but he was still not satisfied. He was about to smash his face the same way he did to him back then, but the vice pres stopped him. He declared him the winner but ordered him to leave him. Taekyung gets up and glares at him with angry eyes. The vice pres warned him to keep his head down if he didn't want to die. Taekyung apologizes to him for his rude behavior, but he was plotting to take him down for good once he got used to his abilities. As they were wrapping up for today, someone else came there. It was the White Snake Lee Sangjin, the general manager of Crimson Moon, and the head's second hand. The vice pres was baffled to see him there and wondered if he got the news about the District H being wiped out. Lee Sangjin asked him why wasn't he greeting him even though he was in front of his boss. But before all that, he asked him who were the two behind him. The vice pres was hesitant, so Lee Sangjin asked him again who they were. He told them that they were new ability users. He didn't understand how could there be more ability users and ordered his men to bring them to the car. The vice pres was taken aback, so the general manager reminded him of the rule. They'd be sent to an island to do survival tests. The vice pres was terrified because if Taekyung gave away what happened to District H, he'd be screwed. But the reason Lee Sangjin barged in was because of the 4 great villains, the first and last generation of villains who gave the head a hard time. He still hadn't forgotten about the suffering they had caused him, and he suspects they might be onto something again. The vice pres points out how could they have survived when the head himself dealt with them. After their fight, Dogpul was a death row inmate, Gwangno was in a moving vegetative state, Shinto and Hwasa were crippled. When they checked this time, They got the info that Dogpal was dead. One of the 4 villains, Shin-2, was in the vice press's control somehow. He had complete control of not only her body but also her soul. While leaving, Lee Sang-jin advised him not to be overconfident if wanted to get promoted to executive manager in the assembly. And if something wrong were to happen with Shinto, he could only dream of being in the assembly. Now we see an island with a clear sky and beautiful nature. In a tiny house on the beach, Ryu woke up. He didn't know where he was after seeing his surroundings. The last thing he remembered was being hit by T-King's fists and fainting. He got outside the hut to see where he was, but he still had no idea. He saw someone in the distance and called for them. While he was asking the guy where this place was, he attacked him out of nowhere. He managed to block his attack, but he was still confused as to why he was attacking him. While he was busy thinking, the guy attacked him again with his leg, which he barely blocked. He was only using his kicks, and they were much stronger than any normal human's kick. Ryu asked him what is wrong with him, and why he kicked him all of a sudden. The guy was confused and asked him if he was brought here without knowing anything. He kicked him again, which Ryu wasn't able to block this time, while letting him on why he was brought there. According to the guy, this place was the Musang Island. This is the survival training ground for new ability users in the Crimson Moon. Ryu didn't understand what was going on and why he was in the training ground meant for Crimson Moon members.
The confusion continues for Saiwon Ryu as he asks the guy just what is this Musang Island he is talking about and why is he even here. The guy wants to have none of it and attacks Saiwon Ryu. He leads the charge with a quick roundhouse kick to the head. Saiwon Ryu is hit by the kick and he understands that the person ahead of him really has the intention to end him. He wonders if people are brought into this survival island to end each other's lives. Anyway, Saiwon Ryu finally takes a stance in a boxing style and asks the guy if he needs to beat him up for him to tell Saiwon Ryu about this island. The guy is still annoyed by Saiwon Ryu asking the same question, so he goes on ahead and tells Saiwon Ryu that children like him won't survive in an island like this, while he attempts to do an acrobatic capoeira kick. The kick glazes Saiwon Ryu in the chin and Ryu quickly grabs one of the guy's legs and slams him down hard on the ground. He tells the guy that his kicks don't hurt him at all. Ryu says that for guys like him, it's over as soon as their legs are caught. He beats him up and leaves him with a bloody nose with his bare hands. However, he doesn't really learn anything from the guy and has to move on ahead. Later, we see Saiwon Ryu walking ahead in an unknown area in the Musang Island, still wondering just what goes down in the survival island and how someone like him can escape this place that is used for the training of the Crimson Moons. On his path, he walks into an old man grabbing his back in pain. Saiwon Ryu asks the old man whether or not he is a resident of this island and if he knows a way he can get out of this island. The old man responds by saying Musang Island is an album where people lose their mind. He asks Ryu if he knows why, before saying that it is because everyone is out here to end the other person forever, as he throws an axe towards Saiwon Ryu. Saiwon Ryu moves his head quickly enough to dodge the incoming axe, however. He can't dodge the charging old man, as the old man drives 2 knives into the chest of Saiwon Ryu, making the claim that even Ryu will lose his mind soon. He stabs Ryu again and says that this is a place where he can't trust anyone. However, to his shock, Saiwon Ryu seems rather unfazed by the stabbing attack. He asks Saiwon Ryu why he isn't hurt, while Ryu just asks if he is done before hitting him with a knockout punch. The man goes out, but Saiwon Ryu is surprised to see that the old man turned into a normal young man after getting knocked out. He assumes it's his ability to become an old man. In another scene, we see the Crimson Moons traveling on a cruise ship. There, we see Shin Young-woo, the leader, asking his subordinates about the Musang Island. He is told that Musang Island currently has 12 people competing against each other. Shin Young-woo asks whether or not there is anyone worthwhile in that group of 12, and he is then told about this man, who we see in a different scene squaring up to a man with red hair for calling him a dumbhead. His name is Park Chan-seong, and he is someone who keeps on competing in the Musang Island because it suits his lifestyle to live there and do what he does. Shin Young-woo is seen to be amused by the existence of Park Chan-seong and looks forward to make good use of him. We see Park Chan-seong ready to fight with Oh Tae-jeong he squared up to before Oh Tae-jeong says that this is the kind of fight where one of them meets their end. Chan-seong uses one of the guys he beat up's body and throws him to distract Oh Tae-jeong, and he uses this distraction to take a sidestep and lands a solid punch to Oh Tae-jeong, who dodges it and tries to attack Chan-seong himself. but Park Chan-seong blocks it all on his own before asking Oh Tae-jeong if he was done or not, and called him too weak for him. Oh Tae-jeong is angered by that. However, his attacks are of no use against Park Chan-seong, as he is too skilled and has too much raw strength. Park Chan-seong delivers a straight punch to Oh Tae-jeong, which sends him flying backyards on sheer impact alone. Oh Tae-jeong is shocked by the skills and strength of Park Chan-seong, and thinks to himself that he can't be a newbie ability user with that kind of skills. Park Chan-seong wastes no time, however, and jumps up and drives his feet together to land a crushing double stomp on the face of Oh Tae-jeong. However, to his shock, Park Chan-seong realizes that Oh Tae-jeong had in fact blocked his stomp. Oh Tae-jeong, angered by the mistreatment, tells Park Chan-seong to not look down on him. Then an off-screen fight ensues, and when we get back to it, we see Oh Tae-jeong cussing out in desperation, trying to figure a way out of it as he is locked into a rear naked choke by Park Chan-seong. Park Chan-seong praises Oh Tae-jeong for having enough courage and stamina to last this long, but also tells him to show more of it, as it won't be fun to put him down so easily. Park Chan-seong further goes on to taunt and ask Oh Tae-jeong how it feels to get your lights choked out. Oh Tae-jeong is still trying his best. However, Park Chan-seong is too strong and he is left gasping for air. Soon enough, Park Chan-seong chokes him out entirely. Later we see Park Chan-seong regretting choking him out so quickly. He says that he should have loosened the grip on Oh Tae-jeong and let him struggle for longer, because now he has no more toy to play with. And he seems worried about where he would find his next toy to play around with. It is at that moment we see Shin Young-woo being impressed by the skills of Park Chan-seong. He asks one of his subordinates to confirm it for him on whether Oh Tae-jeong is really down and out for good. The subordinate says that he is out and that his heart has stopped beating. However, just as Park Chan-seong is about to walk away, Oh Tae-jeong gets right back up and attack him. It's almost like he is 10 times stronger now than what he was back then. Shin Young-woo is impressed by how he managed to come back to life despite his heart stopping for a moment, and not only did he came back stronger than before. Shin Young-woo says that he finds Oh Tae-jeong exciting and will look into his prospects. On the other hand, we see Park Chan-seong on his knees, unable to move from being attacked by this rejuvenated Oh Tae-jeong. He is shocked and doesn't know what's happening and why he can't move. Oh Tae-jeong takes this opportunity to kick Park Chan-seong in the face and stomp on it as he walks over him. He then grabs Park Chan-seong and throws him off the cliff. Then we Oh Tae-jeong laughing as he sees Saiwon Ryu climbing up the cliff. He laughs and says that he didn't expect to meet Saiwon Ryu at this place again. Saiwon Ryu climbs up and tells Oh Tae-jeong how excited he is to see him here. He also tells Oh Tae-jeong that he is tired of his shenanigans and he wants to finish off this rivalry right then and there. Oh Tae-jeong thinks to himself about how Saiwon Ryu keeps getting scarier with every meeting they have. However, he also tells Saiwon Ryu that he wants to end it too, and they both get ready to throw punches. Oh Tae-jeong gets the initial upper hand as he slips past the cross from Saiwon Ryu and lands a thunderous cross of himself. This rocks Saiwon Ryu, and Oh Tae-jeong takes great advantage of it by trying to land a high knee to Saiwon Ryu's face. Saiwon Ryu blocks that. However, that attack from Oh Tae-jeong is relentless as he keeps throwing super fast jabs at him. Saiwon Ryu says that he will lose to Oh Tae-jeong again if he can't get out of the shackles. However, Oh Tae-jeong is even stronger and faster than before. Saiwon Ryu then remembers how he was told that he shouldn't just attack when he is attacked, instead he should try and look to strike first. After all, offense is the best defense one can have. Saiwon Ryu then increases pressure from his side and tries to lead in with a cross punch, which is avoided by Oh Tae-jeong. However, he is surprised. Saiwon Ryu then tells Oh Tae-jeong that he has no idea how Oh Tae-jeong came back to life. However, he will make sure that Oh Tae-jeong will never come back to life again. Oh Tae-jeong says he is tired of Saiwon Ryu too, and that he will also make sure that Saiwon Ryu won't come back to life because Saiwon Ryu also doesn't know how to stay down. Saiwon Ryu then asks Oh Tae-jeong why he had done it, to which Oh Tae-jeong asks what. Saiwon Ryu asks that why did he have to target and finish off innocent people like Chief Min and other officers when could have just finished off Saiwon Ryu and moved on. Oh Tae-jeong can't contain his laughter after this and he breaks out laughing. Oh Tae-jeong tells Saiwon Ryu that he always felt something off about Saiwon Ryu. However, he didn't think he was this dumb. He asks Saiwon Ryu in a sarcastic way if he really came here after him just because Oh Tae-jeong finished off a few stupid officers. Then he gets more serious and asks Saiwan Ryu if the Crimson Moon needs any real reason to do anything that they do. This pisses off Saiwan Ryu beyond limits as he tells Oh Taejeong that no person should talk the way he is talking like now. Oh Taejeong is left amused by this statement as he asks what a stupid and weak officer such as Saiwan Ryu can do about it. Oh Taejeong then attacks Saiwan Ryu. He charges in and lands a punch to his face, all the while taunting him to do something. He then lands a kick to his midsection followed up by a side kick to the face. However, instead of being knocked out, Saiwan Ryu stands there as if nothing had happened to him. This bamboozles Oh Taejeong as he has no idea on how Saiwan Ryu is standing up after he put full force on to each strike he attempted and it all connecting perfectly. Oh Taejeong keeps throwing punches and kicks at him, but Saiwan Ryu stands there, unharmed, unscathed. Oh Taejeong is seriously scared now because he has no explanation to why this monster of a man is not affected by some of his strongest and cleanest connections. Then we see an angered Saiwan Ryu throw a thudding overhand right cross which sends Oh Taejeong back a few years and knocks him out. Saiwan Ryu then says that he will do exactly as promised and finish off Oh Taejeong for good. He brings up his thumb to attack Saiwan Ryu's throat before he feels a supernatural power stopping him from doing so. It feels as though he is paralyzed and can't move his body. Then we see Shin Young-woo in the scene who tells Saiwan Ryu to stop because he can't finish off a member of the Crimson Moon faction. Saiwan Ryu is shocked by Shin Young-woo. He wonders if this person is from the Crimson Moon faction, but he realizes that this person is different from everyone else he has seen to this point. He is also confused about the special power that Shin Young-woo has. It feels too powerful. Just then, Shin Young-woo clenches his fist, which makes Saiwan Ryu feel immense pain. Saiwan Ryu says that his whole body feels way heavier than what it was feeling. It feels like his body is breaking from the sheer pressure. Shin Young-woo then uses his special powers to levitate Oh Taejeong's lifeless body back to his side. Shin Young-woo tells Saiwan Ryu that he has disabled all the muscles in Saiwan Ryu's body. That's why he can't move. He also says that if Saiwan Ryu tries to move, he will only force his body to get more and more hurt and eventually tear them. Saiwan Ryu wants to have none of his talking. He tells Shin Young-woo that he will finish off Oh Taejeong right here at all costs. After saying that, Saiwan Ryu tries to move forward and tries to take back Oh Taejeong. Shin Young-woo uses his special powers to hold down Saiwan Ryu again and reaffirms that if he keeps trying to move, his muscles will tear apart and his body will break down. There's no way he will get out of it. Saiwan Ryu still doesn't want to have any of it as he wants Oh Taejeong at all costs, and he somehow breaks through of Shin Young-woo's special power and goes on to attack Shin Young-woo. Saiwan Ryu makes a run for it against muscles holding him back, and takes down Shin Young-woo with a tackle. Shin Young-woo is surprised by how Saiwan Ryu managed to move, while he had Saiwan Ryu's muscles disabled. Saiwan Ryu gets on top of Shin Young-woo and threatens to finish him off if he doesn't hand over Oh Taejeong before using his hands to choke Shin Young-woo. This impresses Shin Young-woo. He thinks that Saiwan Ryu is very brave for doing what he is doing. A security guard tries to come in and help get Saiwan Ryu off of Shin Young-woo. However, Shin Young-woo tells him to stay away from this. Shin Young-woo guesses that Saiwan Ryu is a beginner by the way he is using his powers and skills. However, he can't help but wonder where all the strength is coming from. Saiwan Ryu is someone with immense potential to Shin Young-woo. Shin Young-woo then tells Saiwan Ryu to get off of him as he has already realized that Saiwan Ryu is very strong and doesn't need more proof. Saiwan Ryu is pissed off by this kind of nonchalant behavior from Shin Young-woo and tells him that if Shin Young-woo doesn't let him have Oh Taejeong, he will split Shin Young-woo's neck and finish him off for good. Shin Young-woo has a rhetorical smirk on his face before he tells Saiwan Ryu that he appreciates Saiwan Ryu's boldness. However, he still has a long way to go before he can take on someone like Shin Young-woo. Shin Young-woo grabs Saiwan Ryu's hands as Saiwan Ryu was choking him and pushes him away with ease, which shocks Saiwan Ryu. Shin Young-woo then uses an open hand strike to slam Saiwan Ryu down to the ground and tells him to take a break before using his power to push him back feet away. Shin Young-woo's subordinate then asks him if he was okay or not, to which Shin Young-woo just asks what the name of the kid who he just beat up is. The subordinate tells him that the kid's name is Saiwan Ryu. Shin Young-woo then says that he has never heard of him and asks if Saiwan Ryu is a member of the Crimson Moon faction, to which the subordinate says he isn't. Shin Young-woo then asks who he is if he isn't a member of the Crimson Moon faction. The subordinate tells that the vice president of the Western District Hanjim Kim had Saiwon Ryu and Oh Taejeong both. Shin Young-woo reconfirms about Hanjim Kim's involvement. The subordinate tells Shin Young-woo that he had decided to bring Saiwon Ryu the moment he heard that Saiwon was a new user from Hanjim Kim. Shin Young-woo then tells his subordinate to tell Hanjim Kim to come to the General Assembly as soon as he leaves the place. The subordinate agrees to do so. Shin Young-woo then uses his power to levitate both Saiwon Ryu and Oh Taejeong before saying that he wants a detailed and comprehensive report on both of them. Suddenly, Shin Young-woo hears a sound, and upon reacting to it, he drops the levitating bodies of both Saiwon Ryu and Oh Taejeong before looking at the edge of the clip. He asks who is it there, and then we hear someone laugh before two men jump up and tell Shin Young-woo that they've missed him for a long time now. Shin Young-woo is seen confused from the sudden appearance of these two men before asking them who they are. They tell Shin Young-woo that he is looking nice and healthy and say that the times must have been going kindly for Shin Young-woo. Shin Young-woo then suddenly realized that these two are none other than Dokul and Gwangma. Shin Young-woo then gets back to his normal stoic look before asking them how they are still alive and why they look the way they are looking. Like Dokul and Gwangma take this moment to make a dash towards Shin Young-woo and take him out. Shin Young-woo says that Dokul and Gwangma don't look like they have any intention of telling them why they are like this before preparing himself for a fight. Both Dokul and Gwangma try to attack Shin Young-woo from both sides. However, Shin Young-woo is very quick and he manages to easily dodge both attacks without even breaking a sweat. This disbalances both Dokul and Gwangma. Shin Young-woo takes this opportunity to say that he can tell from their movement that they're indeed the Dokul and Gwangma. He says that from their appearance he can tell that they've definitely gotten younger, however it's just their looks because from the inside, they're still old. Shin Young-woo then uses the open hand strike technique on both Dokul and Gwangma at the same time while one standing in front of him, and the other behind him to send them flying back miles. He then shuffles across to grab the collar of Dokul's shirt to throw him away. However, he uses his special powers to levitate Saiwon Ryu's unconscious body to cushion Dokul's fall. Shin Young-woo then asks Dokul how he is still around when he is supposed to be executed, and Gwangma how he is still moving and in living color when he is supposed to be in coma. Dokul realizes that Shin Young-woo is too strong and quick for them to attack. Meanwhile, Gwangma is looking for a spot to attack Shin Young-woo. However, he can't find a proper opening. Shin Young-woo says that he has many different questions for the duo and how they've achieved what they have and what methods they've used. Gwangma takes this chance of Shin Young-woo being in a talking state to attack him, and Dokul follows from behind. Gwangma says that they'll never tell it to someone like Shin Young-woo. Shin Young-woo notices the forthcoming attack and says that the attack pattern of Dokul and Gwangma are very predictable. They'll always attack the same way and together. They are coordinated, but it makes it easy for Shin Young-woo to read them. However, at that point, we see Saiwon Ryu rising from his unconscious state and a hold onto Shin Young-woo from his back. Shin Young-woo is surprised by this and thinks to himself that this isn't something that he had expected. We then see Gwangma and Dokul thanking Saiwon Ryu for the help and request him to hold on to Shin Young-woo as they're going to finish him off for good now just when they're ready to attack in tandem. Shin Young-woo breaks into a hysterical laughter. Shin Young-woo says that he thought Saiwon Ryu had a lot of potential and would have let him into the Crimson Moon faction. However, it's a shame that he has to do it now. Then we see Shin Young-woo breaking loose and using the top tier of his power. The power causes an immense aura to surround the area before we see Shin Young-woo going through the body of Saiwon Ryu. Saiwon Ryu is seen awestruck by the sheer amount of strength that Shin Young-woo possesses. Saiwon Ryu is seen with several huge holes in his body and is seen bleeding heavily. Shin Young-woo also uses his supernatural abilities and aura to send both Dokul and Gwangma fly miles back. Both Dokul and Gwangma are shocked by how strong Shin Young-woo is and label him as a monster. Dokul also asks Shin Young-woo just how far he has taken himself. Shin Young-woo says that he has no idea how Dokul and Gwangma are still alive. However, he is disappointed. He is disappointed by how weak the duo have become. Then Shin Young-woo smirks and says that maybe Dokul and Gwangma haven't gotten weaker. Instead, he himself must have gotten way more stronger than before. He taunts the duo and says that they'll never be able to catch up to him when it comes to strength, that he will be forever stronger than them. This angers Gwangma beyond limits. as he snaps and rushes to attack Shin Young-woo while telling him to not look down onto them. However, Gwangma is intercepted by a flying knee strike. The strike is landed by the subordinate of Shin Young-woo, who tells Shin Young-woo to stand back while he handles business with Gwangma. Gwangma is curious as to who this guy who attacked him is. The subordinate says to Gwangma that he feels pleasure in meeting him, but now he wants to see if Gwangma lives up to his reputation. The subordinate says all of this with a smile on his face. This nonchalant attitude angers the hothead Gwangma, who calls the subordinate arrogant and charges in full steam to attack him and promises to slay him. Gwangma tries to throw a wild haymaker to the neck area of the subordinate, however. He manages to dodge while still maintaining his smile and nonchalant attitude. This shocks Gwangma, but this small opening allows the subordinate to land a spinning hook kick flush onto the jaw of Gwangma. The subordinate tells Gwangma that Gwangma might be stronger than him, but he is too fast for Gwangma. The short-tempered Gwangma lets this get under his skin and vows to finish off the subordinate and goes forward to attack him again. Dokul is annoyed by this and can't believe what his dumb friend is doing in this situation. However, Dokul stands face to face with the president of the Crimson Moon faction, Shin Young-woo. Shin Young-woo asks Dokul if he thinks he can run away. Shin Young-woo gears up to attack Dokul and says him that it is a real shame that Dokul came back to show himself to him again. However, this time, Shin Young-woo will make sure that Dokul doesn't make it out of this alive. Dokul tells his that his feelings are alike to that of Shin Young-woo, and both of them go on to attack each other. Dokul throws a quick flurry of blows, but none of it lands on Shin Young-woo, who asks Dokul how he intends to finish off someone like Shin Young-woo with the skill set he has now. Dokul feels hopeless as all his moves are getting predicted with 100% accuracy by Shin Young-woo. Dokul realizes that at this rate, he will never be able to beat someone like Shin Young-woo. However, Dokul believes that there is no need to concentrate on these things now, as the most important thing for now is to save Saiwon Ryu. However, he will be beat up to a pulp at the current rate, and even Gwangma is busy dealing with Shin Young-woo's subordinate. This moment of distraction allows Shin Young-woo to pick his spot as he tells Dokul to keep his head in the game while he attacks the solar plexus of Dokul, which drops him. Shin Young-woo then uses his special muscle disabling ability and asks Dokul if that was all he had to offer, and that he appreciates the fight he put up, but it's not good enough. Dokul is surprised by the powers of Shin Young-woo because he can't use his body again. Shin Young-woo tells Dokul that there were many questions he had for him. However, there is no need for that anymore because he will be finished off right now by him. As Shin Young-woo is ready to land one final blow to end Dokul, a rejuvenated and pissed of Saiwon Ryu gets back up to the surprise of Shin Young-woo, who can't believe how he is back up again. Saiwon Ryu dashes forward in utter rage before landing a thunderous right cross punch to the chin of Shin Young-woo, which drops the leader of the Crimson Moon faction. Dokul is surprised because he can move again, and he tells Gwangma to stop fighting and get ready to leave. The subordinate is shocked as he sees his boss, Shin Young-woo, laid out, and this allows Gwangma to finally land one of his wild haymakers, which allows Gwangma to push down his head down to the ground. Gwangma tells the subordinate that he will join his boss in hell, before he and Dokul pick up Saiwon Ryu and make a run for it. They jump off the cliff with Saiwon Ryu, saying that they'll much rather fall off a cliff than be finished off by someone like Shin Young-woo. Shin Young-woo recuperates and sees this all go down in front of his eyes. The subordinate also gets back up and asks Shin Young-woo if he was doing fine, to which Shin Young-woo says he is. The subordinate then apologizes to Shin Young-woo, stating that he should have done better to stop those guys from escaping them. Shin Young-woo says it's okay and asks his subordinate, Sang-jin, if it was Hanjum Kim who handed over Saiwon Ryu to him, to which Sang-jin says yes. Shin Young-woo then tells him that they must talk with Hanjum Kim as quickly as possible. Next up, we see a ship traveling to the Incheon region of South Korea. We see Shin Young-woo and his subordinate Sang-jin land on the ship dock, where we see a large herd of men bowing down and welcoming Shin Young-woo. They are the members of the Incheon branch of the Crimson Moon faction. Shin Young-woo tells Sang-jin that he must already know that Shin Young-woo doesn't like this sort of formal welcome and appreciation. Sang-jin says that the Incheon branch of the Crimson Moon faction were too excited to meet their main leader, so they couldn't control their emotions and wanted to organize a grand welcoming ceremony for Shin Young-woo. Shin Young-woo tells Sang-jin to move on as they've got business to attend to. However, at that point, we see a normal-looking man who has a knife in his hand, calls out Shin Young-woo's name. Everyone is shocked by the braveness of this man. Sang-jin asks who that person was and how dare he come with a knife and call out the boss name during the ceremony. Sang-jin tells everyone to stop looking around and take out that man for his unacceptable behavior. The members of the Crimson Moon faction surround him and are about to get rid of him before Shin Young-woo tells them to stop it and asks the young man just what businesses could he have had with Shin Young-woo. The knife-wielding man tells Shin Young-woo that the Crimson Moon faction has ruined the lives of his cousins and his family. He says that his cousins and family are living on the street because of them. The man asks Shin Young-woo how dare he raise the interest rate so much in just 1 year time. The knife-wielding man says that he no longer has anything that he can possibly lose, so he has decided to bring a knife to this occasion to finish off Shin Young-woo forever before turning in the knife to himself and finish himself off. Shin Young-woo says that they're sorry. They didn't want to upset any of their customers. The knife-wielding man asks if he really is sorry, because he always thought it was weird how the interest rate skyrocketed so much, and asks Shin Young-woo that if he is sorry, can he write off the debt that is on the name of his cousins and family. Shin Young-woo has an arrogant smirk on his face as he explains that they're not sorry because of the high interest rate. Instead, they're sorry because they gave the knife-wielding man the thought of bringing a knife to the occasion was an option. The man is visibly sweating buckets as he is nervous and asks what does Shin Young-woo mean. Shin Young-woo asks the knife-wielding man if the Crimson Moon faction ever asked them to borrow money from them. They probably knew that the interest rate would rise if they didn't make payments in time and fell back. The man is left with no answers to these questions. However, Shin Young-woo continues by asking that wasn't it him who forged signatures for his cousins and family. He then goes on to say that honestly, it seemed like they never even had any intention to pay back the money they borrowed from the Crimson Moon faction. Shin Young-woo leans forwards and says that they probably thought that if they had hung on for long enough, maybe the government would intervene and would write off their debt. Or maybe their plan was to take the money and hide with it. Shin Young-woo gives an intense look and says that they're different and that they search the entire world to find idiots like them who try to hide away and extract every last bit of money owed to the Crimson Moon faction. This is the Crimson Moon faction's way of instilling fear onto idiots like the wielding man, which would make them think twice before messing with the Crimson Moon faction and their money. Shin Young-woo then calls the man a piece of crap and tells him that they don't care whether he has to sell his own family members or his own organs. They must do anything possible to pay back the Crimson Moon faction instead of blaming others for the faults they themselves made. The knife-wielding man is in a manic state of mind, and he denies all allegations tentatively, saying that he didn't do anything and that it isn't his fault. Instead, it is the fault of the Crimson Moon faction and he must finish off Shin Young-woo with the knife he has as revenge. As the man is about to stab Shin Young-woo with his knife, Shin Young-woo gets ready and activates his supernatural powers. He uses his powers to first disable the muscles of the knife-wielding man, making him unable to move, and then he tightens his grip on the man, which bloats his entire body more and more as it looks like he will blast any time. And soon enough, Shin Young-woo clenches his fist, which pops every existing muscle in the knife-wielding man's body, blasting his organs and his entire body on the spot. The man's blood sprays over the entire area, leaving bloodstains everywhere, including on Shin Young-woo himself. This show barbaricism leaves even Shin Young-woo's subordinate Sang-jin in a state of shock as he closes his eyes. Shin Young-woo then tells all the Incheon branch members that they must retrieve every last penny that the Crimson Moon faction owes to that man and his family, and must not let it go. Everyone responds to the order, agreeing to do so. However, as Shin Young-woo and Sang-jin walk away to leave the scene, the members can't help but feel a bit overwhelmed by what had just happened in front of their very own eyes. We then see Shin Young-woo and Sang-jin get into their car as they are to move forward to attend to their business. They are flanked by several other cars and a truck for the sake of protection. We then see Sang-jin asking Shin Young-woo if he was okay after what went down. Shin Young-woo doesn't answer. Instead, he asks a question to Sang-jin on whether or not he knows who the four sickos are, and if Sang-jin knows why they are called the four sickos. Sang-jin answers by saying that he heard that they were called the four sickos by the underworld because of their barbaric nature and actions, alongside their great fighting skills. Shin Young-woo says that they were indeed very brutal, because when they had gone to war with the Crimson Moon faction, They attacked all the branches and they made sure to not leave a single person alive. Sang-jin is surprised from knowing that the four sickos didn't even leave a single person alive. Shin Young-woo then says that what makes the four sickos really scary is not their extreme brutality, but instead it is their tenacity and the never-giving-up mindset. Shin Young-woo adds by saying that they've got immense determination and if they put their mind into something, they will go on to achieve it eventually. That's why they never failed and went on to become the rulers of the night just like they've intended it to be. He further says that there was eventually a battle between the four sickos and the Crimson Moon faction. A battle that would decide the fate of them. We then see a flashback of 20 years back where the four sickos, which includes Gwangma and Dokgul, are effortlessly taking out everyone that the Crimson Moon faction had to offer. Eventually, there was one man left, and Dokgul was excited to know that they'd finally be able to meet the president of the Crimson Moon faction. And then out steps a younger Shin Young-woo, ready to go into battle against the four sickos. Shin Young-woo tells the four sickos that they had finished off everyone they saw, even the ones who weren't capable of defending themselves and fight back. No wonder they're called the four sickos. Shin Young-woo then says that he would expect no less than to fight the best and most powerful, such as the four sickos, for the control of the nation's underworld. This is seen as a joke by the four sickos who can't believe what Shin Young-woo had just said. Dokgul asks what does he mean. Meanwhile, the woman asks him whether or not he wants a cuddle from her. Whereas Gwangma tells him that Shin Young-woo shouldn't be deluded because they aren't competing with him, as the Crimson Moon faction is no match for the four sickos. Shin Young-woo tells the four sickos that it shouldn't be seen whether or not they're on the same level when they're fighting. Shin Young-woo then activates his supernatural powers and it has a red and white aura. Gwangma says that Shin Young-woo had a very strong red and white aura, and whether that means that Shin Young-woo is a stronger Glaya user than them. Dokgul, who activated his power, says that it doesn't matter much. The four sickos can overcome any challenge as long they are sticking together. Right away, Shin Young-woo and Dokgul go into battle. Both Shin Young-woo and Dokgul lead in with left jabs. However, Dokgul is shocked by feeling the immense strength from Shin Young-woo's punch and goes back a few steps. Shin Young-woo asks Dokgul if that was all he had because that kind of power was too weak for someone like him. Then, at that moment, the powerhouse of the group's Gwangma comes to the scene. Gwangma tells Shin Young-woo that it was far from what the four sickos had to offer. Shin Young-woo doesn't wait much and throws a right cross punch to him. Gwangma grabs his punch and holds onto it. He feels the pressure form the punch, however he presses onto Shin Young-woo's fist, intending to hurt him and break Shin Young-woo's hand. However, it does next to no damage to someone like Shin Young-woo, who jokingly says that he will be disappointed if they keep coming out as weak. Gwangma is angered and says that they still had more to offer. Gwangma then tells Shin-tu and Wasa to attack as well. Wasa tells Gwangma to shut up and keep a hold onto Shin Young-woo, so they can land their strikes on him. Shin-tu jumps up and tries to land an unorthodox-looking right hook punch, which doesn't bother Shin Young-woo, as he easily dodges it. However, from his right, Wasa had crept up, who also happened to be wielding a sharp blade. She uses that sharp blade to attack a distracted Shin Young-woo. However, Shin Young-woo somehow manages to dodge it. Shin Young-woo then tries to attack Wasa, but Gwangma also jumps in. Shin Young-woo refers to it as a proper beatdown, a brawl. Shin Young-woo says the tenacity and intensity of four sickos were off the charts, and it was so much that even Shin Young-woo himself felt a chilly feeling up his spine in their powerful area. Shin Young-woo further says that the fight eventually ended with him on his knees and exhausted, while rain was pouring down. Dokgul was also exhausted, as he said that he had never felt he had fought this intensely in his entire life. Gwangma also says that he is beyond exhausted and drained to the core, and he praises Shin Young-woo for giving them the fight he had given them. Dokgul then says that he will finish it off right then and there and tells Gwangma that he did good work while he lasted. A very serious and injured Shin Young-woo asks Dokgul that when he is finished off, who will be the new leader? This question confuses every one of the four sickos. Shin Young-woo told them that before Shin Young-woo came around and united the entirety of Seoul under his own regime, the four sickos had divided Seoul into 4 parts and ruled over as the leader of each part's underworld scene. However, now that the entirety of Seoul's underworld is united under one true regime, which one of them will take over Shin Young-woo's spot as the one true and undisputed leader. Shin Young-woo further goes on to narrate that there was truckloads of money flowing through the underworld of Seoul, and hungry predators would never let go of a prey no matter how big the stakes might be. Shin Young-woo used their biggest flaw, their greed, against them to create a momentary distraction to recover from his injuries. Dakal tells Gwangma that he shouldn't be going for Seoul, as Dakal will give Incheon to Gwangma to control, so he should let Dakal have Seoul to himself. Gwangma goes on to question Dakal's sanity, as he can't believe why Dakal would offer him such a stupid deal. Dakal tells Gwangma to stop being greedy and do it for the betterment of the four sickos. Gwangma says that Dakal has no right to call him greedy when Dakal is being so damn greedy himself. Dakal gets angered by this and tells Gwangma to accept this normally, or he will make the decision in a rough way. This angers Gwangma as he threatens to finish of Dakal. This worries Shintu and Wasa, who can't believe the guys are fighting among themselves when the current fight with Shin Young-woo isn't even over. However, this doesn't stop the egos from clashing, and soon Dakal and Gwangma are fighting a savage fist fight. Shin Young-woo narrates that they probably would have never assumed that they could be so guilty when they had it divided in 4 parts. But now that it is time to take over as the one true L leader, they're duking it out. We see both Dakal and Gwangma throwing right crosses to each other's faces, Gwangma lading an open hand strike, and so on. Shintu is questioning if they've lost common sense, and Wasa is saying that they should stop them before it is too late. However, Shin Young-woo is already standing behind them, and he says that they're already too late to stop anything. Wasa and Shintu are shocked as they have no idea as to how Shin Young-woo has seemingly healed himself. Shin Young-woo is seemingly ready to fight, as he had saved all his strength for this moment only. Shintu isn't fazed though. He jumps up to try and hit Shin Young-woo with a proper roundhouse shin kick to the head, but Shin Young-woo catches him mid-air and breaks his leg in half using his unreal strength. Wasa tries to use the opportunity and tries to attack Shin Young-woo. However, she is also intercepted mid-air as Shin Young-woo grabs her by the throat. This finally brings Gwangma and Dakal's attention to Shin Young-woo, as they notice Shinta quivering in pain while holding his neck and Wasa struggling to breathe as Shin Young-woo is choking her. They're shocked by how the guy is still operating, and how he must have saved all his energy for this moment. Shin Young-woo tells them that they're the only 2 remaining and it's their chance to save their friends, or else he will finish of Wasa right there. Gwangma suggests they both attack Shin Young-woo at once, but Dakal says that it isn't possible because they've run out of gas from fighting each other. Gwangma says he doesn't care if Dakal joins him or not, and that he will go there to finish off Shin Young-woo. And so he does. He dashes forward in an attempt to save Wasa. However, Shin Young-woo used his other hand to pierce right through his chest and leaving him down and out, bleeding out from his chest wound. Shin Young-woo says that at least he appreciates Gwangma's loyalty towards his friends. However, it is very sad that he will never walk again in his life. He then increases pressure on Wasa's neck as he taunts Dakal to come and help Wasa because Shin Young-woo had heard that Wasa and Dakal were a thing. So won't he come and save his girlfriend's life? However, Dakal decides to apologize to Wasa and walk away from the scene, retreating against Shin Young-woo. And so Shin Young-woo tells the story of his fight and victory against the 4 sickos to Sang-jin. He explains how he used their greed against them to make them fight among themselves and weaken each other. However, he does say that the poisonous aura of the 4 sickos still makes him feel a bit uneasy. Shin Young-woo then says that the remaining 4 sickos are now using Saiwan Ryu as the key to achieving their goal of beating Shin Young-woo. He then remembers how Saiwan Ryu, out of nowhere, hit him with a vicious cross right which knocked him down. Shin Young-woo then states that after seeing how he fought in the Muzang Island, he can't help but feel excited to meet with someone like Saiwan Ryu. Later, we see Gwangma and Dakal drag the lifeless body of Saiwan Ryu to a stranded island, where they come and fall down in exhaustion. Dakal says that he can't believe it that they've made it out of Muzang Island alive and moving. Gwangma then questions whether or not Saiwan Ryu is even alive after what had happened to him throughout his stay at the Muzang Island. We see the several holes in Saiwan Ryu's body, still not healed up. Dakal then says that it is impossible for someone like Saiwan Ryu to not be alive. He is a tough son of a gun after all. Dakal then talks about how Saiwan Ryu, even if it was just a solitary blow, still managed to land a significant strike that hurt Shin Young-woo. Gwangma agrees and says that maybe whatever Jaeyoung-hun was right all along about the potential about Saiwan Ryu. Dakal then says that maybe they will be finally able to get one up on the evil Shin Young-woo if they manage to use Saiwan Ryu in the correct way. We then see a young couple playing loud music while driving fast on their car. The man asks his girlfriend if she wants to see the ocean, to which the girlfriend replies by saying that she would love to see it. So, he tells her to sit tight as he intends to accelerate, but at that very moment, we see Gwangma standing in front of the car, trying to stop them. However, the man fails to stop in time and ends up hitting Gwangma. The girlfriend is scared because her boyfriend Bad just hit a man with his car and they don't know what to do. But then we see Gwangma, Dakal, and Saiwon Ryu get inside to sit in the back seat of the car. The couple are scared by these strangers suddenly invading their car and are asking who they are and not to hurt them. Gwangma tells the man that he won't tell anyone that he got hit by the couple's car, if they just drive him to the place he wants to go. We then see two police guards guarding a restricted building before they're suddenly met by Dakal and Gwangma, who are carrying Saiwon Ryu. The guards are shocked and are about to take action, but Dakal tells them not to overreact as the person they've got with them is one of their very own men. We then see Dakal, Gwangma, and Saiwon Ryu in the room of Dr. Jaeung-hun, who says that he can tell that the three of them have not had a great time at the Musang Island from their condition. Dakal then informs him that they were indeed in trouble because Shin Young-woo had almost finished them off for good. Dr. Jaeung-hun is suddenly shocked from knowing this. He asks if they really met Shin Young-woo, and if they did, how did they make it out of that place alive? Dakal then tells Dr. Jaeung-hun that Saiwon Ryu had punched Shin Young-woo straight on the face, and they all used that opportunity to escape the scene and make it out alive. First shocked, Dr. Jaeung-hun soon breaks out into a laughter. He chuckles while saying that he already told Dakal and Gwangma that Saiwon Ryu was special and that they can use Saiwon Ryu to finally take revenge on Shin Young-woo. Dakal then suggests Dr. Jaeung-hun that it probably isn't the correct time to laugh. He should instead look to save Saiwon Ryu's life. Then they turn around Saiwon Ryu to show his wounds to Dr. Jaeung-hun. Dakal asks Dr. Jaeung-hun how is Saiwon so down and out after this battle when he was fine not too long after being stabbed 1,000,000 times with a knife. Dr. Jaeung-hun says that it only makes sense that he is seriously hurt because they don't call Shin Young-woo a monster for no reason. Dr. Jaeung-hun says that currently, the situation isn't very good for Saiwon Ryu, as he is seriously injured and if not treated well and fast, it will be hard to save him. Gwangma tells Dr. Jaeung-hun to call another doctor to treat him properly because he doesn't want to deal with a lifeless body. Dr. Jaeung-hun tells them that these wounds can't be treated by a doctor. Dakal asks then what can be done. Dr. Jaeung-hun then tells them that he has his own way to treat Saiwon Ryu. We then see that they've put Saiwon Ryu into a strange room while Dr. Jaeung-hun, Dakal, and Gwangma are outside. Dakal asks what kind of room is Saiwon Ryu in at the moment. Dr. Jaeung-hun answers by saying that it is a decompression room. Dakal asks him just what is a decompression room. Dr. Jaeung-hun explains that even the best deep-sea divers need to breathe high-pressure gas to increase their internal body pressure, so that they can endure the high water pressure when they do deep-sea dives. It is done so that they can build more resistance to the high water levels that is often the reason behind the end of many divers' life. So basically, a room with high-pressure gas is called a decompression room. Dakal asks if the room Saiwon Ryu is in is a high-pressure gas room, to which the doctor says it is, but this room is covered by bulletproof glass, so that is different than a traditional decompression room. Gwangma asks Dr. Jaeung-hun if it is okay to put Saiwon Ryu in such a room when his condition is very critical at the moment. Dr. Jaeung-hun says it will be okay because the room Saiwon Ryu is in at the moment is a room that was made specifically for him. As he says that, Dr. Jaeung-hun released the high-pressure gas into the room. The gas soon fills the decompression room and Saiwon Ryu suddenly springs back into life. His eyes get bigger and the veins on his neck starts to pop. It seems like he is really struggling to breathe in the room. Dakal is dumbfounded. He can't believe it how Dr. Jaeung-hun has put Saiwon Ryu in such a room. He says that the room is making it harder for him to live. It seems like he is suffering even more than before. Dr. Jaeung-hun says that he is suffering more now as he has a slight smile on his face. Dr. Jaeung-hun adds to it by saying that even skilled deep-sea divers can't handle pressure beyond 9 levels and that room is at level 12 at the moment. It's like Saiwon is dropped in several hundred meters under the sea without any equipment. This angers Gwangma, who clenches the doctor's shirt and tells him to stop it at that moment. Dakal is also questioning Dr. Jaeung-hun's intentions because it seems more like the doctor wants to finish him off than save him. Dr. Jaeung-hun sighs and says that Dakal and Gwangma know nothing about this method. He asks how do they think Saiwan Ryu keeps coming back from the verge of getting finished off, and he keeps coming back more and more stronger. Dr. Jaeyoung Hun then informs them that the only way to extract the full potential out of Saiwan Ryu is to put him in more and more extreme situations. Only then will he break free of it and come back to life stronger than ever. And just as he finishes saying that, we see an even more jacked up Saiwan Ryu screaming like a monster as he seems like he is back and better than ever.